What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Ramblecast. It's been a while, and yet again, I am joined by
Who are you?
who?
Where am I? Are you
I'm
my daughter?
what's a computer? But
Hello, it is Matt from Fearless Games.
yes, and it's funny because I've been wanting to do this topic for a while now. You know this, talking about Primaris, and then we had Mic Drop by GW over the weekend. I'm like, I think it's time. So, so
Yeah.
um, Primaris Space Marines, the whole kind of predicament with them. Not that not just what they are, but also like GW's concept for making kits. Also, because it really shows in the Primaris because they're brand new kits, and all that, and kind of what the future holds for Primaris Space Marines. Because GW, I knew this was going to be a thing, kind of shot themselves in the foot by giving them the title of Primaris and making Primaris a thing. It's cool, but it also puts them in a weird spot.
Hashtag Marines are going. Hashtag don't listen to GW when they say Marines aren't going. Hashtag Primaris to stay. Hashtag regular Marines are dead.
Right. The thing is, though, let's just say everything went Primaris. If everything's Primaris, then nothing's Primaris. You know what I mean? Like, if everything's Primaris, then
Yeah.
you just have Space Marines again. So it doesn't even really matter that. But, like, that I remember that being, oh, no, it's a conspiracy. Primaris are taking over.
Which GW shot down again at this weekender.
Which, understandable for the very simple reason of Forge World. Forge World is yet to do anything Primaris, and Forge World's bits and stuff are really all generic Space Marine size. So why would you suddenly make what is in essence half of the Space Marine bits obsolete and not use
Yeah,
them?
the only thing they've done is they made the super heavy tank for them and they did the doors for the repulsor. That's it.
Yeah, they haven't touched. I wish they would do stuff for Primaris, particularly because standard Intercessor Hellblaster stuff, the leg armor is for the shin is separate from the leg, and that could be a really cool upgrade piece for like chapter specific stuff or innateness or whatever. And nobody's picked up on that. I'm like, come on, that's a piece that glues on that's blank. Put a sculpted detail there. Give me like a sword or something or a chapter symbol or whatever. But you know what doesn't help the case that Primaris aren't here to replace everything? When GW uses nothing but the Primaris artwork to showcase every example chapter. like,
And
like the
it
only
is
ones
true.
that don't is Deathwing and Ravewing because they're Terminators and Bikers, and we don't have those as Primaris yet.
Yep.
But like in the Dark Angels Codex, all of these successors are shown as Primaris. In the Blood Angels Codex, everybody, including Lamenters, is shown as Primaris. In the Space Marine Codex, everybody is Primaris. Now I get it. On a producing standpoint, you just take the line art for a Primaris Marine, give it different ink, and you got yourself a bajillion different chapters to showcase. Very easy. But it doesn't help your case. like, at all. So, that doesn't help too much. Okay, so I guess let's establish a baseline. Just Primaris in general, what are your thoughts on them?
GW should pump the brakes on lieutenants because, including Malleus Calgar, if you technically think about it, there are 8 different lieutenants. That's
Well,
my first thought right
Well,
there.
you have lieutenants and you have, like, captains
Yeah.
slash chapter masters.
No, there's they've added a Blood Angel lieutenant, a
Yeah.
Dark Angel lieutenant, a Space Wolf lieutenant. There's been the last three anniversary models have all been lieutenants. Like, that's my first thought when people go, "What do you think of Primaris Marines?" I'm like, stop with the lieutenant models and give me something else.
Well, Calgar isn't a lieutenant, obviously.
Yeah,
But
for anyone who hasn't seen it on the internet, there's a little joke going on where it goes how Malleus Calgar gave control of the Ultramarines to Gilliman because he would be a fool if he didn't. And the definition of a lieutenant is someone who takes command from another captain. So technically, hoity har har, he's a Primaris lieutenant. It's
Yeah,
just
but-
going off the rolling joke about there being a billion lieutenants out there now.
Well, yeah, of course. But Marneus,
Yeah, but he's not-
Marneus
he's not-
obviously is a
yeah.
chapter master.
He's-
Marneus just is,
Yeah,
is
he's
just
the lord. He's the lord. He's the lord of McCraig and all that. Yeah, it's just a stupid joke.
Oh
that
yeah, I
just
get it.
find
But I mean, like,
hilarious. But
like Marneus Calgar, though, he's basically the equivalent. I mean, he's not a captain. He's technically, because there is a first company captain.
Yeah,
But he is like the old first captain title of like in the legions when you had somebody who led, but also was considered first captain.
Yeah, his new title is now Lord of Macragge.
Yeah.
And he stays on Macragge. He controls one of the 3 sections of the 500 worlds, and between the 3 of them, he has vetoing power on the commanders of the other sectors in the area. So he's in a weird state. So he's like a pseudo chapter master without having the title of chapter master.
It's weird because obviously when your Primarch's around, they lead your chapter. But at the same time, you exist outside of the 10 company role. So it's like, well, what do we do for you? But it's
But going back to your original question, my thoughts on Primaris Marines is, to a degree, I'm sitting here going, were they really necessary? I get the idea they were trying to hide the scale creep with a new unit, but I think they should have just said, here's the scale creep, and just call them true scale Marines. Fluff-wise, we know how Space Marines are Mary Sues. I feel Primaris Marines are super Mary Sues.
Well, they're only given that because they're the new poster child, and whenever you're a poster child for a force, you get lumped into the Mary Sue category.
Well, more for the fact they're closer to Primarchs than the original deal. They're faster, they're stronger, they can't get corrupted by chaos as often. The Blood Angel ones are immune to the Blood Rage. The Space Wolf ones are immune to the Wolfen. It's like stacking on top of everything that makes a Space Marine awesome just to make them sound even super awesomer. From a fluff standpoint, the only thing that I feel that I'm not happy with is we've had established fluff that Fabius Bile has been trying to improve the genome of the Space Marine since he was allowed to do that, which was probably by the end of the heresy. So
he technically wasn't allowed; he just did it.
Yeah. So he's got roughly a good 10,000 years of practice going in that we know of. We are aware he's been doing this, and so far he's gotten nowhere really in terms. Yeah, you could go with the possessed Marines, but comparatively, okay, they're not that much better. Then Bavius Call, who's never been seen before, just shows up and goes, "Oh yeah, I can make super Marines whenever I want. They're candy." And it's like, wait, what? When did you suddenly get this ability? And he's like, "Oh, I was able to do it during the heresy." And I was like, then how come Korax failed at it? Explain how out of left field this thing that was impossible, this dude's sitting here going, "I could do it all day with my eyes behind my back." Exactly. I don't know how that works because, well, he is Mechanicum, so his eyes may be detachable.
True. Yeah, Belisarius, Darius, Marius, Fallius, Sarius, Valeria, Call. That guy. He did come out of nowhere as a character, but the benefit of making a character up is that he's also been doing this for 10,000 years with Imperial sanction from Gulliman, with non-tainted seed. Also, Fabius Bile. The thing about Fabius Bile is he wasn't necessarily trying to he was tampering as opposed to improving. That's why you have the noise marines where they can scream a sonic shockwave out of them.
Yeah,
because he was tampering with established organs. And then now he's got his needle chaos juice, and he sticks them into dudes to try and have stuff happen with mixed success. But he is also thought to be the only one that can possibly clone things, so he does have that going for him. It's a different. I look at him more as a tamperer, whereas this new guy now is going. I have the okay to flirt with taboo and do what the 21st founding could not.
I just feel like, from a fluff standpoint, I think he should have been in the fluff longer than he has been before they introduced the Primaris Marines as his creation.
I can get that.
And from a mechanical standpoint, from a game perspective, I feel GW soft pitched the Primaris Marines too much to a point where pretty much everyone in my gaming community, with the exception of the Hellblasters for like the Dark Angels, look at the Primaris Marines and go, why would I ever take these guys? Because
they're
they
not
aren't
bad.
that great. Well, they're not bad, but they're not good in the same
Well,
sense. Like I,
Hellblasters are good, period, because
oh
their
no,
plasma guns are great.
Hellblasters are awesome, but like
Rivers can be really good in certain
like
situations.
whatever the intercessors, the tactical marine dudes.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I would rather take a tactical squad for the flexibility of what I'm fighting over them.
Here's
to be
the weird
honest.
part with intercessors more so than the others. They're based off of what legions had, and the legions had like tactical support, which is what the intercessors are based off of. So you would have your tactical marines doing their thing.
Yeah.
Then you have dedicated support, and sometimes they would have all snipers. Sometimes they would have all rapid firing guns, just things to lay down fire while your tactical is all tactical. And my problem with the Primaris in that regard of Guilliman doing that is that's all well and good when you're the size of a legion. When you're a chapter size, you don't have the numbers to go, I'll have supporting units for this squad, because you need either that squad or the supporting unit. You don't have the numbers to go crazy. But the Intercessor's auto bolt rifle or stalker bolt rifle are actually really nice. And in Deathwatch, it's almost unfair because they get special shoot ammunition at that point. But the aggressors are really...
The aggressors are nice. The only thing I hate about the aggressors is I hate how unit-wise they take up one slot, but fluff-wise they take up a totally different slot in the chapter, and that irks me to no end.
Oh, it's weird, and I think they did that because they didn't want to step on toes. You know what I mean with like game unit, like army list wise. But the Inceptors are also really good. Like if you go with the plasma Inceptors, you got like really mobile Hellblasters, and if you go with the bolter version of the Inceptors, you got anti-horde wherever you want it because they fall from the sky and just go, okay, everything dies. And it's just like they're actually a really good 1-2 punch with a lot of stuff. The problem with them, however, for me, like I'm okay with the idea of improving upon a Space Marine. I really like that concept because while it's very taboo because it's the Emperor's genetic work, it also stands to reason. And if the Emperor were alive, it would stand to reason. 10,000 years is a long time to not change anything. You know what I mean? It's like this is a long time to not improve upon.
Definitely.
And when I look at this again, I project a lot of my thoughts into this that maybe they didn't intend to, or maybe they did but didn't vocalize. I really like the idea of, okay, these are kind of super Space Marines. I would have liked some fluff harkening to the 21st Curse founding as being like a major stepping stone for him perfecting his Primaris or whatever. Like, I would have liked to see maybe his hand in there trying to figure things out and weed out what wouldn't work.
It wasn't the Cursed Legion their first attempt at modding Space Marines or making new gene seed or something?
The Curse founding was the 21st founding, which is the Curse founding, was basically when the Imperium turned a blind eye and Genitors went crazy with gene seed on Space Marines. They tried to do a bunch of stuff, particularly trying to weed out the known defects of gene seed, and otherwise trying to strengthen it out. This is where the Lamenters came from. This is why the Lamenters for a long time were thought to be and were immune to the Black Rage and the Red Thirst, and then GW, the one thing that's really annoying is GW just flipped the switch on the Lamenter's fluff and completely screwed it all up. But they were originally immune, but the cost of that was that they were cursed with horrible luck. Like they had a different curse. Another chapter caught fire. Literally, the Space Marines caught fire in immolation. It didn't burn them, it burned their enemies, and they were put down because they thought it was a chaos mutation corruption. This is also where the Minotaurs came from.
And the Dragon Warriors with their bone spikes.
The Black Dragons who have bone growth into the form of actually they become weaponry. This is also where a chapter we don't see too much about the Sons of Antaeus are. And the Sons of Antaeus are what I get excited about when I think Primaris, because the Sons of Antaeus fluff is that they were larger, stronger, and more sturdy than a standard Space Marine.
Mm-hmm.
to the point where they rivaled Death Guard in their sturdiness, which the Primaris don't. But like they were thought to be like basically they were Imperium's Death Guard in terms of like, and I'm not just talking Death Guard like Legion. I'm talking Plague Brain Death Guard. That's how sturdy they were.
Yeah.
And I look at them because they are bigger. They come and then they fight in the shadows. Not so much they come in out of nowhere. They do stuff and they leave. And everybody's wondering, well, what's the deal with them? Why are they so sturdy? They seem way too sturdy for a Space Marine. I like to think of them as maybe the one success on the road to a Primaris, but they went too far on the sturdy end. So then he dialed it back or whatever. I would have liked to have seen that at the very least to go, oh hey, by the way, remember that cursed founding? My bad, but I figured it out. It's
like I think one of the biggest hearts on it is if they wanted to make a whole new set of Marines and everything, and they wanted Call to be the big thing with it, I think it just would have been better if Call had been around for a little bit longer beforehand.
No, I get that for sure.
Because it just seems like, there's this new, okay, it's a cool new looking Mechanicum dude. Oh, he's been around since the Heresy. Okay. Oh, he's invented new he's got Traitor Legion. Like, they threw so much of him at one time that it just felt really rushed. And
well,
I think
they just did like an exposition dump with him as
they didn't want to slowly grow his fluff. They wanted to just dump it all in once because they were too excited to drop Primaris on us.
See, for me, I'm more forgiving on that for the character and what he is, and that's more like just a designer's flub. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of. That's how I look at it.
I will say, after reading Dark Imperium and his interaction with Gilliman and that little AI thing that's not AI that he made, I do kind of find him more interesting now because instead of him just being this perfect, I'm just so perfect at everything, there is that cap of even Gilliman is going, maybe I went a little too far with giving this guy all the leeway I did. So I think in his novelization form, I think they do a better job with presenting him.
They always do in the novels of characters versus how we see them like in little campaign blurbs or codex and everything. What I like about him though is I like that I like that he's from the Great Crusade. Like it makes sense. Mechanicum dudes could live virtually forever. So that's really cool. It would have been nice if I think what they really banked on was the fact that I helped resurrect the Primarch. Your argument's invalid. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think the biggest issue for everyone, this is just me entirely, is now everything is Call's credit. And I think, because at least from what I've been reading and everything, it seems like what everyone hates is like, we get it. Call is awesome. Can some other Mechanicum dude have made this version of a bolter? Why did Call have to make it? Too much of everything new coming out is Call's idea. I think if they left it strictly to if it's Primaris he did it, it would be better. And I think they should stop trying to convince us that everything new in the Imperium is his.
Well, the problem with that is everything new in the Imperium is Primaris.
Yes.
So, that's the stuff is named. His bolt rifle and the Hellblasters is named after him because everything he made for the Primaris project he made because he was the only one allowed to.
Yeah.
What I would have.
What I'm saying is, I think they mentioned some other gear stuff that wasn't Primaris related that they said he made, and that was when everyone started flipping a table, going, "Why does he have to make everything?"
Well, that's how it goes with a lot of these forges, though. It's like, even if one of his menial servitors-esque tech priest guys made like a new fork, it would be, this is the Belarius fork because it's he's the head honcho. But also though.
But that would actually be something interesting to find out that maybe he's stealing credit for stuff he didn't do.
Well, if it's his forge, he gets the credit regardless. It's kind of like saying the Emperor conquered the galaxy. Well, these legions did, but he conquered the galaxy. For me, I love the Primaris idea, scale wise. I think the idea of that scale. I haven't painted one to completion, but I've done several paint jobs on some Primaris to a certain points, and then stripped them and retried them, and it just feels right when you're painting it. The proportions of the limbs to the torso to the head, everything just feels better. The proportion of the bolt rifle feels better.
Comparing a Primaris Marine to an Imperial Guardsman, it's nicer to see that scale difference, because that's like, yes, that is how tall a Marine should be next to a Guardsman.
And yeah, that is, but I'm not even referring to that as terms of scales with other models, because I get why in like a game you're gonna have most things close in scale, because if they didn't, it would be really awful to paint Imperial Guard because they'd be so tiny. Would be. But yes. But like no, but I get what you're saying there too. That is great, but I just like. For when you think Space Marine, and I don't mind painting normal Space Marine, it's not like
I love them.
But like having painted some Primaris up to a certain, like I said, to certain degrees, it just feels more correct. Like it just feels better. And what people also have to realize, by the way, about Primaris is they're hyped up as one thing, but then what they don't realize is the actual size difference from a Primaris Space Marine to a normal Space Marine is not the difference we see in model form. They're a lot closer in size. It's not like a Space Marine is staring up to a Primaris.
Yeah, no, they never are described really, because I think, I could be wrong, but I think there was a couple of normal Marines in the Dark Imperium book. I could be totally wrong on this. I listened to it in the car, so I'm like, I was half paying attention because rules of the road. But I think there were a couple of normal Marines, and they never really described them as towering. The biggest thing they went was as the Primaris went, I'm going to replace you, right? And they're like, you can try.
Oh yeah, and the thing about the standard Astartes and the Primaris is you can have size differences. There are in the fluff right now standard Astartes who are taller than a Primaris Space Marine.
Yeah.
In fact, some of them in some of the novelizations you read about, their power armor is actually defunct Terminator armor guts used because of how big they are. They need that armor to form the skeleton of their power armor. They're so big. So it's like that. So there are Space Marines that will tower, not tower, but like I use that word loosely here, but over a Primaris, and then there are Primaris and then there are short Space Marines, of course, and then Primaris side is the same deal. They are, on the whole, just a little bigger. Now, what bigger means isn't just height; it also means width and stoutness. They are, when you have, in essence, the only when you have an extra wound and an extra attack, the idea is you're bigger. So, and the problem is the way that they're described. The stat line really does need to be more impressive. Like I would think extra wound, extra toughness, and extra attack, because they're described as being bigger and tougher. So what's what's a stat? Toughness. It's like
one thing I do think is nice that they finally did, going back to this new releases that they're doing with this new campaign. No one was convinced that Primarisness was something you could do to a regular Marine, because someone from the design team said it in an interview, but everyone was like, no one's mentioned it in a book. I'm liking the idea that Calgar is now a Primaris Marine, because it finally shows that, yes, you can upgrade a regular Marine. It makes me hopeful that maybe one day some of the other armies that have older than normal commanders, Dark Angels, will get new miniatures for their captains. And it seems to have given Calgar a few points of intelligence, because he now wears a helmet in his new mini.
If you so desire, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, but but his original model didn't have the option. But now he's like, I should probably use this. And it kind of kills the whole Calgar will go traitor thing, since Gilliman just went, by the way, you're not as big a screw up as I made you sound. Here, be the first Primaris.
Well, if there was ever a special character to pick, it is Barneas Calgar, because as they said in the trailer, he's been a character since the beginning of characterism.
Yes, so he's had a model. I think it was like one of the first character models for Space Marines.
And he has a long and impressive record. He's also a quadriplegic bionic arm and limb guy. So like,
Yeah. Didn't he like lose all of his limbs to a swarm lord or something during the Tyranid invasion?
I don't know if he lost them all. Like I think
I think he just lost his arms.
but he definitely lost all 4 limbs. But I don't think it was at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's what happened. But like, so I guess that. But the thing about Primaris is, I don't know. It's funny that people were in shock that you could upgrade because yes, somebody mentioned that, but I always imagined that to be a possibility for the simple fact that what it's been described as is an Astartes with extra organs implanted in.
Yeah.
That's the way everything describes it. Is not like carefully construed from the beginnings, vestiges of a battle. No, it's described as here's a space marine, shove these organs in there, and it's like.
Like the idea that, like said, that Calgar is the first. I think they should have established a little bit better. I think just as like a nicer like build up to it is maybe in theory we can upgrade a space marine to Primaris, but it hasn't been done yet. It's still a paper theory, and
I do like that it's just again mic drop, boom. My name's Calgar's Primaris. What? Don't worry. Once the book comes out, guys, you can read the fluff of how this happened. It's like that's the thing. It's like everybody who's losing their bird on this right now. It's like guys, it's not like they did this and then okay on to making toast. There's a whole book about it. I mean, come on. It's like what I do love about that video though is Duncan at the end.
Yes.
This one time I punched a bunch of immortals
and they all died and then I thought
a monolith shot me, but it's okay because I got a really good armor save.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
It was fantastic at pointing out how some of the stuff he's done got a little ridiculous.
And it's also funny because of how epic everything sounds, and when you boil it down to the rules, it's like, yeah, this sounds really silly once you talk about it in actual what you do in the game.
Yeah.
But
no, Duncan was the best part of that video.
Because I was wondering, where's Duncan? He hasn't said anything, and then like, boom, there he is. But the one thing I don't like about his model, because when I first saw it, I was like, so he has jetpack now? But like, it's not a jetpack.
Yeah.
It just seems really
just
weird.
Part of his backpack.
It blocks like the backpack eagle things.
One of the only major complaint from my circuit of gamer guys up here, the only complaint that they have, I get totally where they're going with it. They're not happy that it's the same pose from his third ed model.
I get it, and I also get why they did that.
Yeah, I get why they did it. Like, yes, it is a brand new version. It's a never before thing. It would have been cool if he's doing a newer pose, but I get the pose they chose because it's not a bad pose. It's one of the more dynamic poses out of all the second and third ed models from that time period. So I get both sides of it. It's that iconic look. Anyone from any version of the game will go, that's Calgar.
Yeah.
And so I get it. Then one thing also, I do feel bad for Calgar. He can't ride Maximus anymore because he doesn't fit.
Well, that's always been dumb on the part of GW with Primaris. And that's part of the whole really like soft pitching, as you mentioned, because it's like, well, why can't they go in a Land Raider? Why can't they go in a Storm Raven? Why? They're not any bigger than a Terminator.
I'm just sitting there going, Calgar, you have now been honored with the new rank of Primaris. Thank you, my father. I shall wear it with pride. Now bring me Maximus. I must go. What do you mean I can't fit?
Well, the good thing is there's no rules about Maximus in the Codex. It's not like
no. You could just take a repulsor and say that's the new Maximus.
Yeah. It's just I really don't understand.
Bizarre, some of that. Like, I think the weirdest out of all of them is okay, Land Raider, Rhino, fine. Why not the Thunderhawk and the Stormbird?
Well,
I think the Stormbird could take Primaris's, but it's weird that a Thunderhawk can't.
Thunderhawk is weird because it can hold dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
But the Land Raider is weird because it holds Terminators.
Well, like, I'm just saying, like, okay, fine, I'll give you Land Raiders. They're quote unquote, it is a big tank, but it's also, okay, I'll give you Land Raider, but the Thunderhawk makes no sense.
I just refuse to give Land Raider because this is what they were built for. This is exactly what they were built for. But what also makes no sense
And
is
even
like
the Spartan, the supersize Land Raider, they're like, no, I can't fit in that.
what I also don't understand is we shall second them to the Death Watch, but they can't go in the Death Watch aircraft. Wait, what? Excuse me? This is a purpose-built Death Watch craft to insert Space Marines on missions that the Primaris don't fit in.
To quote G.I. Joe, you expect me to walk? No, you can run.
Yeah, but it's just it's the silliness of the part. Really, it's the silliness of 8th edition's keyword fiasco. Because it's like, what's your keyword? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't take this relic item. You can only take this sword. It's like, wait, what? It's like, what's your keyword?
Well, the keyword part doesn't bother me. What just bothers me is certain the Land Raider should have the ability to take Primaris.
Yeah, the Rhino totally
At
fine.
the very least, the Rhino, I'll give you the Rhino, fine. Don't let them get in Rhinos, but they should be able to go in Land Raiders.
Oh yeah, they should be. I mean, the Land Raider, and especially
Or just make them count as 2 models like you do every other item that's bigger.
Yeah, it really is just odd. The only thing that I'm like, about Marneus Calgar is I really like this Terminator model. Like, I really like this Terminator model.
That's the one where he's kind of like prowling.
That's the one where he's, super ornate, marching forward, and it comes to the honor.
Prowler, like, where am I'm hunting me some Marines. Yeah, that one. The sad thing though is I will be totally honest with you. I could never tell that was Terminator armor.
Well, because it was so ornate.
And it looks, to me, honestly, it didn't look any different from his power armor.
Well, I mean, it was vastly different. But in all honesty, if you put them together, you're like, yeah, no, that's completely different. But
probably, like, I'm just saying, like, every picture I've seen of him, I'm always like, oh, that's Calgar. It's like, no, that's Calgar in Terminator armor. I was like, how can you tell?
It's just, I'm sad to see that. A, because I don't know what his rules are going to be with this armor. He better have a 2+ armor set because it's Calgar. But outside of that, I just... If people are the only thing, I'm not worried about Space Marines getting replaced, because if all Space Marines get replaced, as long as they still have tactical squads and demonstrator squads, who cares if they're Primaris now, right? Like,
yeah.
Who cares if that's their stat line, just as Space Marines? I'm more worried about the fact that it's like, so are you replacing Terminator armor? Because me and the Deathwing, we're gonna have words.
I think. It is weird. Like, that's one of the things I'm very curious to see is what, if you're going to try and replace Marines with Primarises, what are you going to give us to replace all the units? We already have answers to tactical squads, devastator squads, and assault Marines, but what about bikers? What about scouts? What about Terminators?
Yeah. To circle back to my point of them shooting themselves in the foot, is you look at the new Death Guard models. They are scaled up.
Yeah.
And they're not, obviously they're not Primaris. They're not called like Ascendant Plague Marines. They're just Plague Marines.
Plague Marines.
And they're a bigger scale, and too bad, so sad. That's what they are now. And they look phenomenal.
And the rubrics are also the same height.
Well, yeah, but we have a gigantic head. Helps.
But out of all the Marines in the Legion, you could have gotten away with ignoring the fact that they're taller is the Plague Marines, because they're like, they're bloated with all the other crap. But it's but how did the rubrics grow? How did the new Berserkers when they come out grow? How did the new Noise Marines grow? Well, I guess you could say they just decided to what's that torture thing? Quarter. They all quartered themselves and stretched out their limbs.
And it's just, there was no explanation fluff-wise. They're not this new Plague Marine. They're just Plague Marines. And that is the best way to handle it. Now, granted, they're Plague Marines. They weren't introducing new war gear either. Here we are.
Yeah.
So I get that. But it's just like, I like the scaling of Primaris. You want this idea of a new Space Marine? I'm okay with that. I think you probably should have went a little more in on their stat line a little bit, just to have them further feel like, oh wow, Primaris. Because when you read about the fluff and you see their stat line, he goes, so 1 extra wound and attack.
Yay.
I mean, is that gonna Could that make a game? Yeah, totally. An extra one could. It's like, oh, squad's still around. I still have the objective or whatever. You know what it is? Or like, I could do
Yeah.
whatever. Extra attack. I just wiped you out where I wouldn't have been able to without those 5 extra attacks for the squad. But like, it's not overtly power fantasy. Like, ooh yeah, Super Space Marine. And
And
you have this scaling thing. Now, my thing is this. I'm all for the scaling, but if you are going to scale up the Space Marine arsenal to this scale, I want the Space Marine build capability that we know and love for Tactical Marines, Devastator Marines, Stern Guard Marines, Vanguard Marines, Assault Marines, Terminators, Space Marine Captain, Command Squad. All that super, it takes 2 pieces to make a torso and then you glue it to the leg, like the super customization and posability. That's gone with Primaris. None of the Primaris kits can do that. You
yeah,
can't even pose the weapons how you want because they went back to whatever reason the left hand being part of the weapon.
yep,
So super silly on their part for that. But that I don't want. If they're going to slowly give us just new tactical marine kit called Primaris Tactical or whatever, and boom, there they are, fine. But they better have the same modular building capability as the old kit. Because
yeah,
that's why people love building Space Marines.
yeah. That was always one of the best parts. You know, they were bland from a model standpoint, but they were an open canvas for building.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. Right out of the box, the intercessors and hellblasters, they look amazing. That strut forward, the aiming, the everything, that's great. And you can achieve that by keeping them modular, right? If you
Yeah.
made the other hand detached from the weapon and still part of the hand, and have them, you'd have to line it up. You can still do that, and then that frees us up to do whatever we want.
I don't mind. I would have preferred the Horus Heresy system, where the left hand was open but the right fist was attached to the gun.
Yeah,
Because
that's
the
fine.
annoying
That's the
part,
old school system.
because the annoying point with a lot of my Marines right now is the bolters keep snapping off the fist because it's the old school ones where I had to glue them onto their fist.
Yeah.
So I liked having the fist modeled to the handgun because now it's lined up perfectly, the joint is strong, and the wrist to the arm is a much better connection than anything. That I don't mind.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
But like I said, with that stupid hand there, you can't have them like loading the gun because he's forever holding the front of the thing.
And you can't twist the arm and shave it down a bit so he's holding it up and then the other hand's down on his side because the hand's attached to the weapon.
Yep.
It's the same reason. It's the same issue I have with the Necron range. The Necron range does this. The Skitarii range does this, and it's like,
Yep. I think the only ones that really don't do it is right now. The only one that still doesn't do it are all the Eldar ones.
right, and the entire normal Space Marine range.
Yeah.
But and it's a real shame because the Intercessor kit is fantastic. The Primaris Captain, Librarian, Chaplain, Apothecary stuff is fantastic. Now, we've seen them slowly building towards this route. The Sanguinary Priest model, the Interrogator Chaplain model that they released, new ones, they very much are... I call it clamshell style because you have like...
The clamshells.
It kind of
the clam
clamshells.
packs.
Yeah. And that's what these models are like. They're like their own little clamp pack. You glue it together and you got a model. And we've seen that in HQs and the like. With the Interrogator Chaplain being the really annoying one because it's a bit more difficult to take a power fist away at the elbow and put a normal forearm there because it doesn't line up quite right. It looks weird. You have to kind of do it right. It's harder. Curse you because it's an awesome model. And now we have it as just a full-blown squad. And I'm sure Calgar is going to go together a very similar way.
Yep.
Which, A, is fine. That's his model. That's how he goes. But, like, it will be sad to not have him in his Terminator armor, which is the only way people fielded him anyway. Because it was just like, kill things, Dad.
I'm wondering how everyone's gonna... I wonder how they're gonna... everyone's been always sitting there going, how are they going to explain his power fist hands still being able to fit even though he's bigger? Like the classic, how can Azrael's helmet be the lion's helm if the lion was a Primarch and Azrael isn't?
They do realize that the fluff of these gauntlets is that the Primarch originally had them, and then he gifted it to his leaders of his forces. So they were Primarch-sized hands. That's why they always were gigantic.
It's like, by call, I am so thankful you did not add anything to my 2 giant fists. He's like, why, thank you. I really appreciate the concern. But let me give you a hypothetical here. You're sitting on the battlefield. You're about to push to the final march, and you need to make a motivational speech. You go to raise your helmet, and you realize you forgot to shave. Well, you just press this button in the palm here, shaving cream lights out, and god damn you, Crawl.
Well, like,
because Call can't let anything go unless he improves it.
well, the fluff of the Gauntlets of Ultramar is that the Mechanicum has tried to pierce it, and they can't. So,
Yeah, weren't they taken from a Chaos Warrior or something that Gilliman was fighting?
Gulliman took these from a Chaos Champion, but they're not a Chaos weapon.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they're
Yeah.
a Chaos weapon. I know that some people have thought, oh, maybe they are a Chaos weapon because they came from a Traitor Marine. And I was like... So I wasn't sure if they actually did come from a Traitor Marine or not.
Assuming, again, all the fluff lines up like it did, yes. They came from we don't know. We just said a Chaos Champion. We don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But...
Because he doesn't have them in 30k.
No, he doesn't use them. Because it happens post-Heresies when he gets them, when he's still around post-Heresy.
Yeah, I didn't know when... I thought he got it when the Battle of the Abyss or whatever it is where he's fighting out in space.
No, although he does punch things with a power fist in there. Because
he had a power fist.
Yeah.
He's modeled with one.
The equipment he has in 40k is different, but very similar to how his Horus Heresy model is and how he's often depicted. Sword and massive fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, because why not? If it worked for the Emperor, it's going to work for everybody else. So, but like, I don't know. The circle back to Primaris. The thing about Primaris is heads are the same scale, shoulder pads are the same scale. It works. Everything's the same. Obviously the rest doesn't fit. Now people have taken Space Marine arms and just glued them to Primaris torsos and done their own little setup that way. And honestly, it's close enough where you really, you would have to sit there and go, something's a little off. Like, if just looking at them, you go, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a glaring, obvious scale difference, but there is some difference.
Yeah.
The backpacks go together, go onto the model differently, so you can't just sub that out. And while the backpack isn't glaringly huge, it's big enough in all its proportions to know that is a Primaris backpack versus a normal backpack. It's just enough to notice, and that's the most frustrating part for people because this is true scale from factory. Let's be real. This is what we've wanted for the longest time. We just were delivered it in a way that's a little odd, and that's why people, I think what it is people are going, Space Marines are going to get replaced. It's that I want this, but I don't want this way. It's like, I want the Primaris models. I want Intercessor models for my tactical Marines, but I don't want it to be like this. And what I mean by that is everything is now Mark 10. Now, on the one hand, it makes a whole lot of sense to go, this is the latest and greatest Mark of Armor. Everybody wear this. Why are you wearing Mark II?
They obviously could have just introduced it as a new Mark of Armor.
Well, it is.
Well, what I mean is they could have just went, new Mark of Armor, oh, here's something Baby's Call invented, and just ignore the scale creep. You didn't, they could have done that as well.
You didn't even have to say he was that Belisarius called made it. They could just say it's a new mark, and it is Mark 10. But that makes you go, and the reason it's called Mark 10 is because the whole reason it's Mark 10 is Call wanted a mark for his stuff, which makes me really intrigued. Okay, that means a Mark 9 was being worked on. Where is it? I want to see Mark 9.
It's pathetic. It didn't have the Kroll name on it.
And and Mark 10 Gravis, which I was most excited about the Gravis suit because that's Mark 10. That's like heavy arms custom. You know what I mean? It's like the Gundam Astray Heavy or whatever. It's like, here is this. It's like a Leo Command mod variant in terms of, here's this standard armor that we now added to. It's not a separate mark. It's not Mark 11. That's Mark 10 Gravis enhanced. And I'm like, that's a cool concept. That's like Void Hardened Mark III. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a really cool concept. It kind of in a sense, almost changes the game of power armor, because gone is the idea. I changed the shoulder pad. This is a new mark. It's like they have beaky helmets. New mark. It's gone. Is that it's now like this is still Mark 10, but we made this more beefier and tougher and whatnot. And it's a really cool idea. I just, if it's Mark 10 because he wanted a mark, I want to see a Mark 9. I also want to see, if we're going for this scale slowly creeping in on this, I want to see scaled up Terminators.
Yeah,
I want it. I
think that's what I do want that a whole lot. And speaking about that front, the Primaris, when they were introduced to some of the other chapters, I think in some cases, I think the fluff went a little too far in some areas. And I'm talking about the Primaris book, War of Secrets, where the Dark Angels weren't trusting to the Primarises, obviously, because they were all they were under Gilliman's league. They don't know what oaths they swore to Gilliman and all this other jazz. But it went to a point of practically making the Primaris Marines think they're in a traitor legion. And I think some of that went a little too far. Like, yes, the Dark Angels have kept this secret for so long. I don't think we've seen them keep this secret within their own troops. I can't see them doing it differently that would be more suspicious to the Primaris Marines that they are to any other Green Wing.
Let's be honest. For whatever reason, every time Dark Angel Fluff is brought up, we gotta make them feel weirdly sinister for no reason now. Like, that's the latest fad.
That's because Phil Kelly jumped on the bandwagon, and he thought that's what everybody wants.
Like, the latest fad is the Dark Angels are now, rallying above this sector of space. That sector of space just feels more evil. It's like, really? Wait, what? Excuse me? It's like...
But, I was sitting there, because I haven't read the book yet. It's on my to-read list. But, apparently in it, apparently they there's the way they keep secrets from the Green Wing.
Yeah.
But then there's the way they keep secrets from the Primaris Marines. And the Primaris Marines are super paranoid about it now. And it's and no one from the Green Wing has questioned this, because it seemed very odd that
it's also very weird because their codex has established that the Primaris understand the Dark Angels are very insular. We even though we are of Sons of the Lion, we come from an outsider. We have to prove to them our worth. That was understood in the codex.
Yeah, it's just some of the stuff going with them can be kind of ridiculous. Here's a good example. Here's a very good example. They tried to establish that the Dark Angel Primaris Marines still had the rivalry with the the rivalry with the Space Wolves, because in the Dark Imperium novel there is a Primaris team with a Space Wolf and a Dark Angel in it, and both of them are antagonizing each other, and it's oh yeah, yeah, they constantly are at each other, getting on each other's nerves because of the whole rivalry thing. I'm like, wait, how do they know? They instantly don't like each other? That's not a gene seed thing. That's a being exposed to their history thing. And so, as far as I know, they don't know that part.
The only thing I could think is that it's a known rivalry, and Call and part of his indoctrinations instill that in them.
I guess.
It just seemed
I think it would have been cooler if the Primaris Dark Angels did not know that part. So whenever their button heads are like, dudes, they're fine. Don't you dare defend those dudes. It's what are you talking about? They're nice guys. It's don't, not now. And
it would have been even, cool. Or in that case, as a Primaris Space Wolf and a Primaris Dark Angel, they become bros. It's in that squad, it's they're really tight knit and work well together. And it's I'm embarrassed. Yeah, I'm embarrassed for my children.
Everybody, and
on
then
both sides,
and when they get there, the Dark Angel's it's that guy. Hey, why don't you join your Space Wolf buddy?
And the Space Wolf, when they get back, is Well, look who it is, all hoity-toity with the Dark Angel.
Oh, little girly man, let's make friends. Tea, sip tea, and knit skirts together.
But like, it's
Though I
just
could see the Space Wolves regardless saying that to a Primaris.
yeah, I could, but like, it's just whenever anything with the Dark Angels happen, like their codex set up the Primaris fine. I do like the whole situation because the Unforgiven completely is all in one space. Azrael said, "Screw it, all Unforgiven on me. We're destroying everything." Right?
Yeah.
So they basically have revealed a semi-legion building tendency.
Yep.
And then now they're in the aftermath and they're all haggard from battle, and it's like, it's kind of like in DBZ when Goku is just like, I think we won, and then the bad guy starts to get back up, and he's like,
My final form.
yeah, it's like, ow, I just spirit bombed after 17 episodes, but like, so it was kind of like that because here comes Gulliman with Custodes support and a full fleet battling down on them, and I do like how Azrael's like, okay, we can either wait and see what happens, or we can open fire with everything. And it's just
because there's one of two options happening
Right,
here.
yeah.
He's here to say hi. He's here to kill us.
Yeah, there's only one of two things right now, and I don't know what it is yet, but if I don't shoot, could be annihilated. But if I do shoot, and we're here to shake hands, we're gonna get annihilated. It's like.
And
so
I
do
did
like
find
how
it interesting. Like, I kind of thought it was interesting. I wasn't a fan of it in the beginning, but I'm kind of like owning up to this is just how good of a tactician Gilliman is to read between the lines and see the patterns within circles and such.
Yeah.
And I did find it interesting that when he met with Azrael, he went, as he was leaving, he was like, "Oh, just so you know, I ain't keen on how you guys are running things, but I've seen your record, so I'm going to forgive it." And he just leaves. Like,
yeah, because the record
at first
speaks for itself.
I sat there, I was like, okay, how do you freaking know? And then I was like, well, actually, he is supposed to be a good tactician, so he probably would have figured it out just by reading battle reports and such. So at first I was like, oh, that's a little silly, but then I was like, oh, you know what? That's kind of neat.
Yeah, when it comes to Primarch, you gotta go, okay, he is the brilliant strategist Primarch who penned the tomes of battle that everybody but the Space Wolf uses. So,
Yeah.
so,
But back to the Primaris Marines. I'm sorry. We can't keep on subject for them.
Because they're everywhere. But that's the thing about Primaris.
Yeah, they're kind of like everywhere, but they're just like there.
They're just there. They're not the main event. They're the really cool side dish to a really awesome main dish. And
Yeah.
it's just like, so it's hard to go like, yeah, this bread's really good. I'm going to talk about this as opposed to the roast beef. No, you're going to eat the roast. But like, the thing about the Primaris though is that they're gifted, and the Custodes group that goes off and sees things done went off and said, yeah, they're gifted. If you don't take it, I'm gonna kill you. And which is what I love about the Custodes. That's why I love Custodes, because they have that one group that went with Gulliman.
Yeah.
So when it's like, this is a gift from Gulliman, which is a gift from the Emperor. If you don't take it, it'll be seen as a sign of treasonous, and we will end you. And it's like, I love this gift, thank you. It's like,
greatest gift ever.
so it's fantastic, but they also gifted the knowledge of how to create Primaris to the chapters. They can replenish their losses. They don't go to Call's store to get more. Although Call's Ark ship does have a bunch in stasis, which is interesting.
Yes.
So they can create it. So this brings up a couple of things to circle back to the Unforgiven real quick. Will the Unforgiven have a bit more potential trust for Primaris they create themselves over the Primaris gifted to them, because they are making them from the ground up?
On that front, I would say yes, because they're indoctrinated their way, so they know they're okay.
Which is an interesting little plot thing, regardless for them.
Yeah.
It's like, and everything. But I'm gonna go ahead and say, if I'm Dante, because he's the oldest chapter master.
He is.
And I've led the Blood Angels for over 1,100 years. I know how awesome us Astartes are.
Yep.
Here's this reinforcement of extra Oregon Primaris dudes that are basically super Space Marines, or they're becoming to. Even if I'm Dante, I gotta look at it and go, so these are mine? Cool. and this is how I make them. All right, Sanguinary Priest, start making these guys.
Yes.
it's like why wouldn't you, like, in all honesty, outside of rules for gaming codex wise, like, oh, they only get intercessors and help, like, why wouldn't you go, okay, the next tactical squad we're making is going to be Primaris? Like, why wouldn't you do that?
And also, like, on the Dark Angel end, I wouldn't, like, they made a brand new successor chapter for them. Like, I don't see, like, it could be easily done in the fluff of every time they recruit a new Primaris Marine, they take a Gilliman raised one and shove them into the special Primaris chapter they already made that Gilliman came with, just so they could keep them all in one place.
And in all honesty, the whole Primaris predicament is the most weird to me on the Spaceful front. And it's only because they don't follow the Codex Astartes at all. They have Grey Hunters, which is like a tactical short, but it's not a tactical Marine.
Their companies are 200 men strong.
Or bigger.
Yep.
Depending upon which page of the fluff you're reading. But, like, they don't follow at all. They march the beat of their own drum. And you know what? Fine. That's what makes the Spacefuls the Spacefuls. So now they're just going to have Intercessor squads and Hellblasters and Rivers, like, just as that. It's very weird to me.
The other thing that this was one thing that really irks me about the Primaris Marines and all that is the whole they're resistant to the defects that make the Blood Angels and Space Wolves unique, and it's like, oh, so they're just regular Marines now, but they have the Space Wolf name, like. I hope down the line there's something where that defect kicks in and it becomes a problem because now it's Primaris Marines suffering this.
Right, but it's also at the same time, if they are really resistant to the Red Thirst and the Black Rage, if I'm Dante, I'm like, make them.
Oh, yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, oh, so now that unique, the beast within us is gone. Oh.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying, but, like, that's just more fuel to my thought process of
why they making more of them?
Just do that? Like, I have to imagine now that we have it established that you can upgrade, which again is just I look at this as going, Marneus Calgar underwent a very intensive procedure of getting these organs implanted to him.
Yep.
So I can't. I have to imagine that, like, fluff wise, the day Marneus steps forth as a Primaris, he gets a phone call. Hey, Marneus, it's Dante. Listen, we gotta talk. I need this. Get me on
chances,
this.
Like, I totally chances are that, like, that's like how this is going to be. Is Gilliman is giving Calgar the honor of proving that you can become a Primaris Marine, and it's and it's his, and it's the way I can see this going is like, because in the fluff, Calgar's like, I wish Gilliman appreciated me more, and he goes, yo, Gilly, I know I've been hard on you. Here's a present. And he's like, for me.
But I can just picture it, like, immediately, like, he steps out, and all of a sudden, ding dong, at the door's Dante. I want it. It's like, mine. It's just like, I can picture it immediately.
Logan
like,
Grimnar shows up. I bet I can still drink you under the table.
Yeah. But I can just picture Dante immediately showing up going, so where do I sign up? I heard.
Hey, guy, I heard. How's it going? What? I'm just here seeing my best buddy in the whole Imperium.
You got any more of that gene seed stuff?
So, hey, you're a little bigger.
You've been working out.
How did that happen? Man, you know, if you need someone else to try that, I'm totally free.
Like, just so you know, I am the oldest living Space Marine chapter master. We can see how well this works on me, you know, because just to see if there's an age limit before we can update to Primaris. You know,
I'm willing to take the risk for the Imperium.
I'm willing to take the risk and not have to worry about the Red Thirst. I mean, I'm willing to take the risk. But
or no, they do probably stuff like Mephiston in it because they don't want to deal with him anymore.
Well, the thing about Mephiston, which is weird, is like he's already kind of conquered it, kind of, sort of.
Oh yeah, they changed that.
Yeah. Well,
I'm used to his old. I'm used to his old ways, where yes, he's like succumbed to the Red Thirst, but he still is like has his tendencies because he used to have that rule where if he kills someone, he has to roll a
Yeah.
die, and if he doesn't, he stops because he has to drink blood.
Yeah. Well, because he was basically I'm Dracula of
Yep.
Blood Angels. But but yeah, no, he's like he's got that master. But what I don't like about that, this is a brief tangent, it's like, yeah, but is it something dark within? It's like, who cares? For once, just throw them a bone. But like but to get back to the Primaris, it's like I said earlier, I've never like the fact that they made it on Primaris wasn't like shocking to me. I kind of assumed that like you could do that, just the way in which it was just shown to us. Like, hey, they got extra organs. It's a space marine implanted with extra organs. That to me says, okay, if a space marine is implanted with extra organs, that means you have a full fledged space marine that you're implanting with extra organs. So
Basically.
it can work. But I just I the biggest issue is the scale jump. And the reason I say it's the biggest issue is because you got people scratching their heads going, okay, that with the fluff, they're not going to replace you or replace Space Marines. GW said this multiple times, but at the same time, we have full-fledged Primaris chapters. You can't say they're just reinforcements when you have full-fledged chapters as well.
Yeah.
As well as Guilliman leading a legion-sized force of Primaris at one point. It's like you can't. This isn't really speaking well to the not replacing thing.
Yeah.
It's like, and especially, I mean, the only and you can tell that we are deliberately not seeing certain Primaris things because there'd be no reason to take a normal one over it. Best example, Tech Marines. If you have a full-fledged Primaris chapter, they're going to have Primaris Tech Marines. They have to. That's how it works. But we don't have a Primaris Tech Marine entry. Why? Because why wouldn't you take a Tech Marine with an extra attack and an extra wound? Right? Like if that's the very basics of it, you would have to make it so maybe Primaris Tech Marines can't have servo arms because they only have servo arms. And that's one reason why you would take a normal Tech Marine over it. But why wouldn't you take a stronger Tech Marine at that point? Like that basically makes a Tech Marine into a normal Space Marine captain like stat line. So why wouldn't you over a normal Tech Marine? And still, unless you want the servo harness, but we don't have even that debate because we don't have them. They also have a flyer we don't get to see.
Yep.
Wait,
Primaris have a flyer? No.
In the fluff, there's the overlord.
Oh, right. I haven't read much of their fluff, sadly, so I didn't know.
Yeah, they have the overlord, but everybody forgets about it because we don't see it model.
I feel a lot of it is I feel like there was plans for a bigger release with Primaris Marines, but because of the freak out, they went, oh, maybe now's the time we should pump the brakes. And now it's going to be a while before we see any of this stuff because they have to try and backpedal and convince everybody that this is an addition, not a replacement.
Well, it's just, I think, in all honesty, Primaris was going to gradually replace the entire range in the beginning. And I think as it got closer and closer to release, GW had this epiphany going, wait, we can't just announce this as the new Space Marine thing. So, all right, let's just say, okay, we're not replacing Space Marines. This is something like they had a panic attack. I think.
Yeah, this is something new.
Honestly, I think if now we don't fluff wise, we don't know what was cut in terms of Primaris units, right? We don't know if anything was cut, but like we don't have that knowledge. But I think if GW went full tilt, full boogaloo, double throwdown, and when Primaris came out and said this is the new wave of Space Marines, and just said it and said what, I think the freak out would have happened regardless anyway. It might be a bit bigger, but I think once the dust settles and people's voices got hoarse and they stopped screaming, I think after that people will go, okay, this is the way it is. And I think that would have been better.
It's basically the same deal as like everyone was going, I wish they just would have true scaled them. That would have been better. That would have been better. That would have been better. Now, if we go into an alternate timeline where that's what they did, all those arguments would be like, this is bull crap. Now all my Marines are completely useless because they don't match sizes. I have to buy whole new Space Marines so the whole size matches. Like it's with the whole base thing. GW went, GW went, you don't need to replace your bases. It's as the legal base is the base they came with, and everyone's like, no, 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 I can't mix bases. Never mix bases. Bases must match. The whole army needs to be rebased now. And they're like, whoa, whoa, calm down. You know, no, 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 you don't understand. They have to match.
Everybody's freaking out. But like,
So we were going to get a freak out of a panic of something, no matter what.
The thing that holds me back from saying yes, this is going to replace Space Marines is the Forge World. And I say that because look at how much Forge World has invested in the standard Space Marine stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot invested there for the Horus Heresy. And granted, you could say, well, Age of Darkness is basically its own game now. And you're right.
Yeah, which they
is.
haven't done anything in over a year.
Which is annoying. But, so yeah.
That's another discussion.
Yeah, they could... And Forge World could just be making models for their game. It'd be weird because they're a sister company to GW and they make stuff to pimp out GW's games. So it's a little weird if they truly cut it, the umbilical cord completely, and then have them start making Primaris upgrades on the side, which would be cool to see, but it would just be a weird transition. I just feel like right now Primaris are in an Imperial Knights state.
Yeah.
Because when the Imperial Knights first came out, we had 2. And it was really just a proof of concept codex. It was like, hey, here's this super heavy and standard 40k games. Will it work? Oh, look, it worked. Proof of concept. Great. And then the next codex came out, and we had 5.
Yep.
And yeah, it's still 5, but when you go from 2 to 5, you more than double the codex units-wise. It's a big jump when you think about it.
Yep.
So I look at the Primaris as kind of being Imperial Knighted. This is a proof of concept. This idea of a newer Space Marine, does it work? Yeah. In the end of the day, it kind of works. The scaling definitely works.
Yeah.
Everybody who complains about the scaling is only complaining about it because it's only Mark 10 and because they don't want to recollect things. But everybody at their heart is going, man, I love the scale.
Yeah, and also like I said, if they were really planning on making these replace everything, they would have made their units. They would have made tactical units seem. They would have done like the classic parent wants their kid to take one extracurricular activity over another. Oh, you want to go and hit the ball and run and this and this, glory, 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 or you can play basketball. You know, like they would have done that. It would have been, oh, they're better. They do this, or you can run tactical Marines. I don't know. Well, your choice. Like, and they didn't do that really. Like both.
Because Space Marines are a tough gambit when you think about it. Because that's at the end of the day, Space Marines is GW's bread and butter.
Oh yeah, it's the poster child.
What makes 40k is Space Marines. Tower cool. I love Necrons. Cheers the ultimate alien race. I get it. But at the end of the day,
most of the time, what you see on that cover is a Space Marine.
Yeah, and what has gotten everybody on board?
Yeah.
Even though Dawn of War had other races, what was on the initial box, the very first box? We don't count Winter Assault. The very first box, the Blood Raven.
Yep.
What was the whole driving force?
Gabriel Angelus.
The whole driving force behind Dawn of War, the Blood Ravens.
Yeah.
That is, what was the console game? Space Marine. We don't look at Fire Warrior. That was a horrible failure.
We don't speak about that.
That was just awful. But the ones that work and succeed tend to have a Space Marine manning the helm. So, that's what sells. Yeah. So, on the one hand, you could go, Primaris are going to do it all. They're going to replace everything. On the other hand, you got to go, do we want to bite the cash cow? And I think what ultimately shot themselves in the foot is this whole Primaris thing. We could have just seen an increased stat line, like we've seen Terminators increase stat line to 2 wounds, right?
Yeah.
We could have just seen a stat line change for Space Marines to be how super soldier they are, and it could have been across the board.
Yeah.
With brand new Intercessor squads that are meant to support tactical squads and brand new Hellblaster squads that are meant to be mobile devastators. Or you could even say Gulliman in his infinite wisdom has taken the heretical havoc situation and has created a purified version of it known as the Hellblaster. Done. Because that's basically what they are. Is that they're that type of unit. And the Intercessor could have just been the, Gulliman saw the need to scythe down the foes that would outnumber us 10-1, and thus the auto bolt rifle intercessors were born. Right? Boom. very easy to describe. No Primaris attached to it. Everybody's got this increased stat line, which everybody is yawning at anyway. It's like, whatever, because especially when I remember when we would talked about this in the past when it was just announced we were going to get Super Space Marines. I remember, I was talking to you going, man, wouldn't it be really cool if they took like Thunder Warrior aspects and we have like the Thunder Marines or something, and we're talking all these things, and what we got was an interesting idea, Primaris, that like really miniaturized Primarch, still below Custodes because you can't beat Custodes, but really interesting, and we don't have much here.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. Calgar is the most exciting thing of the Primaris because it's like finally somebody with interesting war gear, but like what can help not save Primaris because I don't think they're doomed.
No.
The big problem with Primaris, I don't know if you noticed, the Primaris captain and some of the intercessor bits where you do have a bolter being held or bolt rifle being held in one hand and you have the other hand free.
Mm-hmm.
The way it's like they deliberately made the way the hand connects to the forearm different from a standard Space Marine. There's like a little like spike divot that goes into a little recess.
Okay.
It's not like a pin. It's like part of the detail, and it just glues together seamlessly. And it's just like, why? That just because could you do a hand swap with a standard Space Marine and it not be noticeable? You could, but it's harder now because of this weird divot thing. Like they did it that way to just make it. People still do hand swaps because people can do amazing kit bashes and conversions. If you look on the internet, there's crazy stuff people can do. So that's a different story. It's just how much time you want to invest, and you can do that across your entire army. A Primaris melee weapon upgrade frame or something. Give us like power axes and power mauls and thunderhammer. Like the big problem that the Primaris exemplify is the full tilt WYSIWYG unit entry. When you think about it, because that interrogator chaplain model I mentioned earlier, thankfully the interrogator chaplain isn't restricted to just that entry. You can build them more open and freeform because he's not a Primaris, he's standard. But because other chaplain models can work for an interrogator chaplain, it just happens to be this is this purpose-built model for them. But specifically, that combination is there to take if you want to. Power Fist, Crozius. Then we see it in the Intercessor squad box, right? They only have the auto bolt rifle or the stalker bolt rifle, and that's all they can take. I don't even think their sergeant can take a sword. Maybe he can. I don't remember.
I think he can.
He might be able to, but he can't take anything else. No Power Fist. What are you, crazy? And that's because the Intercessor. That would be like saying the tactical squad box can only have a missile launcher or a heavy bolter because it doesn't come with a multi-melter or a last cannon or a whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but clearly they can take. That's like saying the Devastators only have 2 of each gun at max because they only come with like 2 of this and 2 of that. Yeah. They're really saying whatever's in this box is the only way to build this kit or build this unit, and they really doubled down on that with the Primaris.
Yeah.
It just feels wrong.
Again, like we established before, another thing that I just don't understand is they kind of took out they kind of encourage you not to be creative with the models because they're like, no, you can only build them this way. Yeah. Like, no, you can have your cool Primaris like holding up the plasma pistol in one hand and pointing with the other because the kit just wasn't designed to do that. Like they kind of, in trying to make them easier to build for the average person, they kind of just went, no, how dare you want to make them look different from everybody else's version of that model?
And to be fair, as Space Marine collectors and players, we are spoiled for choice compared to a lot of the other units, a lot of other races out there.
That is true.
Like, Necrons always went together a specific way. The Skitarii came out going together a very specific way, unfortunately. Yep. So we are spoiled
the Eldar are still stuck in their single poses.
Yeah. So the Space Marines definitely are spoiled for choice. But I think with the Primaris, they really doubled down on backtracking a little bit. I think, no. You can have this awesome-looking dude. I mean, the Sanguinary Priest is a good example of a really cool-looking Apothecaries-type model for the Blood Angels. But he's done in such a way that if you want to limb replace or convert it up, it's very easy to do so. But if you build him as intended, he still looks sick. So that's proof of concept for being able to keep it open-ended, or as you could call it, modular in terms of building. But they really doubled down on, I feel, taking steps back with the Primaris. And I think if we got the Primaris kit and it was just true scale tactical marine kit, like minus the weapons, like the same weapon loadouts, but the kit was as open-ended to build as a tactical of a Devastator kit is, I think some of that disquiet would be quiet, because it's kind of like, okay, at least I can really build it how I want. I can try a bit easier now to convert it up and do what I want. Maybe make this a tactical squad type of deal. It's just easier to try and easier to kind of make it fit in for me. I think that would help. If that was that, I think some of the uproar that happened with Primaris when it first came out would have been put to rest a little bit. But at the same token, I think the new Death Guard kit is very similar in how it builds. So and we don't really hear problems with that as loudly anyway. I don't know.
I think that's more because Chaos Marines players are just happy they got new models.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't care how they look or how customizable they are.
It's a new model for of Chaos.
It's only monopose. I don't care. It's a new mini.
Yeah, no, it's true. But like, I guess we should cap this off by looking at like, I don't want to call it damage control because I really don't think there's that big of an issue. But what would you do if you could just spearhead the Primaris project, if you will? How would you try and get it to be not as big of an issue for players? Kit-wise, unit entry-wise, whatever.
That's a tough question, to be perfectly honest. I think if I was really set on it, what I would have done is probably a two-step thing. Step one, upscale the Space Marine entry so that when you look at the two, it's less what are their stats and more, okay, what are they good for? Because, again, like I feel like one of the big issues now is when you look at a tactical Marine squad, you're like, oh, I'll just take 10 of these dudes to do what these guys can do. And I would have released a new Marine kit.
Okay.
Because then it'd be like, oh, here's your new Primaris Marine kit. Here's a new Space Marine kit. Even if it was just the tactical squads, not oh, let's give out a new Devastator to go with the aggressors. There's just a new tactical Marine squad set. And then maybe later introduce a new Assault, a new Devastator. I think that would have eased tension a bit, because then it's like, because right now it's like new Primaris kits. I don't see anything new for regular Marines. Oh crap, they're going, quick, gotta buy. But if it was, oh, that's a new kit. Oh, they added a new kit for the Space Marines. Even if they didn't change the scale of the Space Marines, maybe add an extra weapon or something to the kit. Just that way, it feels less like they're going out, and it's like, no, we still know that tactical Marines are a thing, and we're still going to support them.
Yeah,
I think that's how I would have done it. I would have released a new tactical Marine kit with some change that's different from the last kit to show that the kits are staying.
That's a good way to do it. Anything unit entry wise that you would do with the Primaris, like with what we have, war gear options, stuff like that?
Like I said, I would probably have just maybe given the Primaris Marines a few extra options. Like, the aggressors have 2 weapon choices. What are the jump pack Marines called?
Inceptors.
The Inceptors have 2 weapon options. I would have given the Interceptors, or whatever they're called, 2 weapon options, to be honest.
Well, Intercessors, you talking about the jump guys or the non-jump guys?
The non-jump guys.
Well, they have the auto bolt rifle or the stalker bolt rifle.
I did not know that. But
yes.
But don't they only just have, like, isn't it like the same weapon, like it's the same model?
Well, you either you build it with a scope or you build it with like a deeper
I would have
ammunition
given
pack.
them a more distinctly different weapon,
Okay,
or have given them a heavy weapon option.
that's also good.
So then it would be, oh, you can have a 5-man squad with bolt rifles and a single las cannon, or you can have a 10-man tactical squad with a single special weapon and a heavy weapon option. So it's like, oh, okay, do I want to sacrifice the special weapon for a 2 wound heavy weapon? Like you would have made them, I think, more enticing and more useful in more situations. Because, like, again, when I look at the Primaris stats for the tactical equivalent, I personally sit there going, I don't see a need for them.
Right.
And I think a lot of it goes around the fact that you can't really do much to change them because, like you mentioned, they're too heresy era of a unit choice. And I think they need to be more of a 40K era with their tactical role fulfillment.
Right. Yeah, no, that is true. I have to agree on a lot of those points. I think what would help Primaris out if GW wanted to do nothing model-wise. I think if they just updated the fluff and had Gum and Pen, all chapters can be a max of 2,000 strong. Like double the size of a chapter just so we have a feel of, okay, there's a reason to have support to a squad.
Yeah.
Right now, you have a company that can have, and it's broken down now, battle line, whatever else they call it, support, whatever. And because, battle line means either tactical or, intercessor, basically.
Yep.
And if you're a 100 strong company, you want to be as flexible as possible, and having, let's say, 20 of your member or even just 10 of your member being dedicated to one specific role, I think just kind of now you have to work around that with the rest of your company. And
Yeah.
so that's one thing. I think unit entry wise, I do agree there should be some type of options, of a bit more option stuff available. Now with the Hellblasters, they have different variants of their Hellblaster.
Yeah, that I think they're fine with because with them they fill a specific role.
But I also think like they should have made the heaviest option look heavier than it does.
Yeah, it is hard to tell the difference when it's just a wire swap.
Yeah. So I think like it should have been more plasma cannon E looking to help with that. When it comes to squad leaders, I think they should always have a bit more options and capability to take than what they currently do. When it comes to the intercessors, I think if they want to, I like the idea of adding a heavy weapon. If they want to keep a bolter, give them a special, or even just a heavy bolter. Give them a heavy bolter. Give them a Primaris scaled heavy bolter, and call it a day, because that helps them with their whole fire support bolter style. And whatever, call it a day. I would like to see lieutenants, captains, chaplains, librarians, apothecary have the same options as a standard captain for weapons. Like when you look at the entries and it says our Space Marine captain can take weapons from the yada 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 list, and then it says a Primaris captain can take a power sword. It's like great. It's like or you can have plasma pistol, power fist, because that's another model. That's the real reason I say they're so specific to the model build, because the regular little blister you can build can be built with or without the power sword. So you can have an auto bolt rifle, a stalker bolt rifle, or a stalker bolt rifle with or without a power sword. Thanks for the tactical options there, Chief. Well, how about a plasma pistol, power fist? Well, I need a whole other model for that, and then that doesn't have any options either. It's like, if a captain can take Twin Lightning Claw, a Primaris captain should have Twin Lightning Claw. If they can go Thunderhammer, Storm Shield, he's a captain. He's leading your company. He's gonna go into the armory and go, Tech Marine, I need a Thunderhammer and I need a Lightning Claw. No can do, Chief. Here's your power sword. It's like, really? It's like, Space Marines are meant to be tactically flexible. They're the jack of all trades, master of none. And when you really have an inflexible numerous options like this for unit entries in the form of HQs and the like. It just doesn't work for me. It's like, why wouldn't the captain, why wouldn't the librarian want a shield? Why wouldn't the chaplain want to have a combi weapon as opposed to his absolver bolt pistol? Like, why wouldn't you do this? Same thing also with the relic gear. And I think because you can, and I think that's part of how relic weapons work now. You can't just take one; you have to have the base weapon for it to replace, which is really dumb. Like if you want, like for example, in the Dark Angels Codex, if you want the Storm Bolter relic, you have to have the model already have a Storm Bolter and then replace that. It doesn't mean anything for us building it, but in terms of doing like the War Gear entry, if you're point costing it out, you have to buy a Storm Bolter and then buy that.
But usually most of the relics are free.
Well, I'm just saying everything can be broken down to points if you break everything down to points, because there's no points to spend if you're going with that point cost thing.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, why do I have to have a Storm Bolter first? Why can't you just say a captain can take this? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird setup that done so to specifically means that Primaris guy can't take it. It's basically why it's set up that way, because he never could have a Storm Bolter. But why couldn't he have a Storm Bolter? You know what I mean? Like, it's that. I like the idea of here's Primaris and here's something new for a standard Space Marine. What I would do in that instance is I would either say, here's Primaris stuff and here's a non-terrible Centurion's kit. Or barring that semi-joke, because the kid is bad. But anyway, I think what I would have done is I would have released a scaled up normal Space Marine unit just to show, like, yes, this is the scale we're going to, because we all know that they are. I mean, when Death Guard are doing it and Thousand Suns already did it, you know this is the scale they're going for. But I would have done a tactical, not a tactical. I would have done a standard or Start Days kit, but I would have done like a Stern Guard or Vanguard, just to show not only is this a scale we're going for, we're going to keep the ornateness, we're going to keep the potential to be Mark 5, like blatantly like studded out and whatnot. We're going to keep all this crazy ornate stuff, and if you want to have crazier looking Primaris, you can go ahead and maybe purchase that kit alongside of it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just to show, like, we're not abandoning the over-the-top crazy ornateness that Space Marine armor can be and the relic look of it, Mark II. Like, because, yeah, you have Mark 6 helmets in a tactical kit and a Devastator kit, but in, like, Stern Guard, you have Mark II, you have Mark 4, you have Mark 5 bits and all that. You have a lot of different marks represented. And I think if that was all bigulated to that proper scale, I think it would help ease the fear that everything's going Mark 10, everything's going to look the same, everything's going to be terrible. And it might help just be like, worry not, Astartes are here to stay. And we're going to figure out a very nice way to just drop the Primaris nomenclature at some point. I think that's what hurt them the most. I think if they didn't bill it as a whole new Space Marine, we wouldn't have this potential predicament.
I don't think so.
Now,
I think if they just left it as a scale change.
Yeah, I think it would be great, and I think we would have seen Terminators already if they lifted it as a scale change, because who doesn't want that? Now, anything in regards to Primaris versus non-Primaris that you feel is something that you just gotta get off your chest, like anything like secretly I really like the axe of the Space Wolf Primaris, or I don't know, like, is there anything closing wise you think in terms of Primaris, and then maybe looking at the like, what does this mean for Forge World, I guess, as well, in closing?
Why did they think a Dark Angel Primaris would smile? No, because I remember that was a big thing people were not happy about with that Primaris model.
He's smiling because he's killing the enemies of the Emperor.
But he's a Dark Angel. He must be brooding and deep. I think... I honestly think there's really nothing like really jeering or anything like... When the Primaris Marines came out, the only reason I couldn't stand them for the most part was the whole fear-mongering of they're getting rid of regular Marines. In terms of Forge World, I think they should do something other than just the super heavy tank. Or at the very least, I honestly think what I think the very next logical step I feel would be to introduce a Fabius Bile concocted Primaris Marine.
I guess part of me really doesn't want Chaos to have anything close to this because Chaos has its own things. I want the Imperium to finally have something that's not going to get spikified and warped. You know what I
But
mean? Like
I just
everything
feel like
in
they
that way.
should. I think it would be really interesting to introduce something from like Fabius Bile or something that's kind of like his inspiration from. Like it's not just an evil Primaris Marine, but something of that equivalent. Even if it's just boost the give us new possess Marines
Well,
that
he doesn't make possess. He has a special
yeah,
squad he makes, and
yeah, I
maybe
know.
making that squad better.
Yeah, maybe making that squad better, or just introducing new, like bring something close to the Galvor back, because they're awesome scale wise when you see them next to regular dudes. Like, I think that would be really cool because then it would be like, because right now it's supposedly the way that it's going. It's like the Primaris Marines are the answer to chaos. You know, they are the thing. They are the bane of chaos. It would be interesting if they introduce something new with chaos where it's like, crap, we did not prepare for this. How are we going to handle this now? Like, you know, Gilliman has improved the Imperium's side of the Force. I would be interested to see a chaos response to that.
It would be interesting, yeah. At the same time, I hope that never happens. Only because we've gotten so many things the Imperium had to answer to. Helldrakes, Defilers. The one thing I think Chaos should get back is their Dreadnought because the Hellbrute's dumb. But 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 like I could see maybe introducing like beefing up Fabius Bile a little bit because he is a gene enhancer and or like a somebody who dabbles and who is just not so much doing what Call's doing. He is stirring the pot more, but have him have more like maybe make his volatile creatures he makes a bit more volatile, but therefore also have the potential to be pretty like, oh no, here's something that kind of works from his cauldron. But I think Forge World should do some of those leg upgrade things. Like I said, just do upgrade bits for Primaris in the form of things that would fit in to where pieces go. Like, because
Kind of like the upgrade kits, except more than just the shoulder pads.
yeah, because of the way they go together is differently now. Look at how it goes together. Break down how they can make pieces that could go onto that, just to kind of spice it up a little bit. Like if you have Imperial Fist Primaris, maybe give them some type of torso front that glues to the rest of the body that has the Imperial Fist logo or something. Just because, you know, they are a little plain Jane in that regard. The only place you have is your shoulder pad for them.
Yep.
So giving them something that would be nice. Well, one other thing I think needs to be done is I think GW needs to just smack themselves and go, we're going to look at this in a more realistic, logical, makes sense sort of way and let Land Raiders, you know, be used by them. Let them go fit into things where it makes sense that they could fit into. So no rhinos, but let them take a Land Raider. What's the harm? There is no harm. It's a Land Raider. It's not like you put a Hellblaster in a Land Raider or something and now we have an overpowered unit. Right?
Yeah.
It's not at all. And people who field Primaris will just take Land Raiders just to take them anyway. They just won't use them as a transport or something. It's just,
Yep.
just let them take it, and then therefore the Death Watch fly. Like where it makes sense, I'd say where Terminators can be taken, where Terminators can take as a transport, Primaris should be able to take as a transport. Use that rule of thumb.
That's a reasonable.
And then outside of that, I would just think that it's a weird slippery slope because if this does become the standard Space Marine range over time, we're going to see a lot of potential predicaments with Forge World because, yeah, you could say that the Age of Darkness game and the models for that game are for that game and it'll work. But what are you going to say for all the 40k stuff?
Yeah.
Like what happens then? That's why I'm hesitant to say that we will see in the next couple of years a rescaling of the range. I don't know how long it will take, but I think once we start seeing Forge jump on the bandwagon of doing Primaris stuff and doing it their own way, which is giving us really cool looking stuff, really cool equipped stuff, then I think we will see, okay, they're making steps to replace the range, potentially. But if everything is a Primaris and we still have our entries, does it really matter? That's the question I leave to the viewers. Because, yeah, Standard Start isn't getting replaced, but oh look, we still have a Tactical Marine entry. We still have if we still have all those entries, does it even really matter?
Yeah.
So that's where you all come in. Answer that question. Post your thoughts. I wanted to make this a long one because we haven't done one in a while. So there it is. It's a long one. If you manage to survive to the end of this, don't forget to just pimping my channel real quick. I have a poll up about the Pre-Heresy and Co-Heresy. Should I skip the 3 legions that aren't supported yet by Forge properly, or should I do them anyways? Because why further alienate those 3 legions since Forge has yet to give us anything Horus Heresy wise? But there's a poll up. Answer that. The poll closes at the January 1st, or if YouTube magically closes it at some point, then it's done. But I don't know how polls work on YouTube. But also, we do Fearless games. We are 2 of the Fearless.
Yep.
We have to get on our ball to do podcasts there some more.
Yeah.
That's a bit more open-ended. It's not just 40K. It's more open-ended stuff there. But if you enjoy this type of shenaniganry and you want to see it out, open up the spectrum to not just 40K, that's where you'd see it.
Yep.
Anything else you need to add?
No, really not much more that I can think of.
Cool. Well, this has been the Ramblecast on the whole Primaris situation thus far as Space Marines. I think a good takeaway is the overall, what has happened is cool. It's just they're going about it off the beaten path in a way that's kind of rocky. And I think that is need to. I think there's growing pains. I think there's some growing pains that shouldn't have been there because of the whole Primaris keyword. There's that keyword thing again. But anyways, I want to thank my guests for joining me on this ride.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And until the next one, feel free to post your thoughts, comments, questions, requests, concerns, what you think about Primaris, all in the comment section. Check out Fearless Games. We will post something there, I'm sure, at some point.
Eventually.
Within the decade. It's definitely going to get updated. So don't worry about it. And until next time, take it easy.
Peace.